Curtis returns to the Halloween horror series, and we're on the set.
He's the Minnesota Fats of cyberspace. Meet a guy who makes his living playing games on the internet.
Plus, the X-Files movie Secrecy with Chris Carter. And we'll go sliding with Jerry O'Connell and the cast. Welcome to Sci-Fi Entertainment, the show with the most news and features from the world of science fiction. I'm Chase Masterson.
And I'm Scott Mance. From living sci-fi to the biggest genre stars, we've got it all this week. But first, let's get the latest buzz from The Wire.
King Kong was back in theaters last weekend, in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places. Now, to celebrate the big gorilla's 65th anniversary, this event featured a reenactment of King Kong's 1933 world premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. The sold-out screening drew record crowds to the Cinerama Theater, including author Ray Bradbury, collector Forrest J. Ackerman, and legendary stop-motion animator Ray Harryhausen. A roaring good time was had by all. The British sci-fi magazine Dreamwatch reports this plot leak from the first Star Wars prequel. Obi-Wan Kenobi will be piloting a submarine. The underwater contraption belongs to an aquatic race called Gungans, and the young Jedi Knight will use it to infiltrate a castle guarded by skeletal war droids. The new Star Wars budget has climbed to $115 million at this point. If you want daily updates on sci-fi news, check out the online Sci-Fi Wire. Just point your browser to www.scifi.com.
I've been wondering, why all the secrecy surrounding the plots and some of the creatures in this summer's movies? First it was Godzilla, and now the X-Files. Apparently, movie creators feel really strongly about surprising theatergoers. For example, here's what Chris Carter did.
Trust no one, Mr. Mulder.
Beside David and Jillian, we let the cast members read only what they were going to perform. We printed the scripts on red paper so they couldn't be Xeroxed. We put out false pages. I didn't write a very important scene until just recently when it was filmed. I think if you're a fan of the show, you really want it to be a secret. You don't want to know what the movie's about. So, you know, I'm trying to keep the spoilers from spoiling the fun.
Well, personally, I don't get it, because, you know, once the movie opens, everybody's going to tell their friends about it anyway.
You know, I still like to be surprised.
Well, were you surprised when you saw Halloween 20 years ago?
Well, my parents wouldn't let me watch it when it came out 20 years ago, but I've seen it on video, and I was surprised that it wasn't that gory, even though it is scary.
Well, I was surprised when I found out that Jamie Lee Curtis is back doing a new Halloween movie. But most of all, I wondered, why? When Halloween H2O arrives in theaters this fall, Jamie Lee Curtis returns to the role that launched her career.
This was clearly a marker in my life. It was the first movie I ever made. It was, without question, one of the more successful movies. It's the one that gave me a career. It's the one that people remember more than anything. And quite frankly, it was the best part I ever had, except for maybe True Lies, which was a wonderful part.
Most fans of the Halloween films think the last few sequels pretty much sucked. Curtis has been missing from the franchise since Halloween 2. She promises the new film, the 7th in the series, will not disappoint.
There's a purity to it that connects to the first movie, absolutely. And I'm thrilled with that. It's elegant, it's simple, it's not particularly gory, but it's real scary. Very suspenseful.
Since the success of Scream, horror films are once again in vogue. Scream screenwriter Kevin Williamson collaborated with Jamie Lee on the updating of her famous character.
He pitched this idea of this woman who's running a school as a headmistress. She's hidden her identity from everybody, except obviously her son. It's that time of year again, and she's very much on edge. She's a complete alcoholic, prescription drug addict for 20 years.
It was this chance to re-examine the character that ultimately drew Curtis to celebrate Halloween one more time.
We wreak havoc and kind of scare the bejesus out of people. And then everybody goes home, and nobody ever thinks about really what happened to the heroine who survived. And to me, that's where the movie is. To me, it's interesting to say, let's go back and see what actually happened. Let's hear what happened to this woman.
challenge for Jamie Lee Curtis and the makers of the new film will be to compete with the macabre movies of the 1990s.
They change in style. You know, I know that in the 90s it's cool to call them scary movies.
Let's do that.
That's the term now, scary movie. I guess the Scream logo had the word scary movie or something.
Scarier and scarier.
We're not mimicking Scream at all. There are a couple laughs in the movie, but they're intentional, and they were really more homages. It was a way for us to give back to the audience who love these movies little bits for them to go, wasn't that cool when that happened? Oh man, that was so great.
And Halloween fans should savor Jamie Lee's return while they can. Another sequel is not in her plans.
Not for any amount of money. Not for any amount of money. Because then I'm just greedy. I actually think that there's some real specific reason to be here. This is new and exciting to 20 years later say, we're back, and have it be a good movie and have it be respectful of the first movie, to me, is the only reason to be here.
Coming up, we'll slide on over to the set of Sliders and meet the cast. And a hardcore trekker experiences her first Hercules Xena convention.
Who composed the music score for the 1978 film Halloween? The answer is coming up.
When Sliders was canceled on Fox, a lot of sci-fi fans went nuts. But the Sci-Fi Channel came to the rescue and has produced a whole new season of episodes. We went behind the scenes to talk to the cast. How much time?
Less than a minute. Let me just make this last-minute adjustment, and then we can track Wade and Remy's photon trail back to Earth Prime.
Sliders is a sci-fi show, so to be on a network like the Sci-Fi Channel, you can concentrate strictly on sci-fi, which you're dealing with a much more cerebral, intelligent audience. You could do a lot more freaky stuff. It's going to be a good new season.
Mark it on your calendar. Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, a totally new season of Sliders starts right here on the Sci-Fi Channel. Fans of the show know what sliding's all about. For those who don't, sliding is sort of like this.
You ever wonder what's going on simultaneously in another world, on another Earth, in another dimension? To slide is to travel from one dimension to another. Each dimension, of course, still being Earth. And we jump through a wormhole or a vortex.
It's dealing with the same Earth, but different dimensions, and the whole concept of what if you have turned right instead of turned left? How would that have affected your life? How would that have affected life around the world? It's a pretty cool concept.
We're right back where we started!
The poem Thomas read. I've been here before, but when or how, I cannot tell.
Jerry and the rest of the cast are looking forward to exploring topics and concepts this season that were off limits on Fox.
This time we're leading ourselves more into sci-fi, computers, technology. So we're dealing with a lot of technical aspects of what's going on in today's market and the possibly near future. So I think we're lending ourselves more towards a real sci-fi audience than we have been the last few seasons.
Tell me something I don't know.
It's the real deal, Maggie. I have a brother. He's on another world, but I have the coordinates.
Sliders is also adding a new character this year. Jerry O'Connell's character, Quinn Mallory, discovers he has a brother. Colin Mallory is played by Jerry's real-life brother, Charlie.
We had a huge nationwide casting, and he wore a disguise. We had no idea who he was, and he came in. That's a joke. He got the job because he's my brother, and I started producing this year.
He's the brother of Quinn Mallory, who is my brother. So researching the part was not that hard. I've had 22 years of experience. I've always watched Sliders. Since I've been on it, it's so exciting because every single episode we go into a new world, and it's completely different.
Colin. Colin, listen to me. You're not crazy, okay?
The theme of Sliders this season is about us trying to get home. It's really made for a really nice struggle for my character and his character, because now the two siblings really want to get home to their family and really rediscover their roots.
Like all good science fiction, Sliders will be trying to do more than just entertain.
I think that science fiction in general has to be socially conscious of what they're doing, because you can make comments on society without actually commenting on particular events in society. You can get away with a lot and make a very intelligent, socially aware show. It's, I think of all the genres, it really is the most intelligent, and that's why I'm in it.
You know, Chase, since we started working on Sci-Fi Entertainment, I'm amazed at all the events that we're getting VIP passes for.
I know. It's like even when I'm happy to stand in line, we still get let in a side door.
Well, I wanted to share the wealth with some other fans. So when we got those VIP passes to the last Hercules Xenocon, I gave them to Star Trek fan Laurie Bagel. I was curious to see what a Trekker would think of all the Herc Xena hoopla.
Now, I'm a hardcore sci-fi fan that's done my share of Star Trek conventions over the years. But some of my friends are really into Hercules and Xena, so I thought I'd check out one of their conventions for a change.
It's a great show, you know, we tape them all and watch them over and over again. And,
That's excellent.
you know, I stop and freeze frame and do all kinds of things, so it's fun.
Do you think it's a pretty family-oriented show?
Most of it. It's got a few scenes that maybe are not.
Or you like cover the guy's eyes.
Yeah.
The convention seemed a little short of Kevin Sorbo lookalikes, but there were plenty of Lucy Lawless wannabes of all ages and sizes.
Your mom looks a lot like Xena. Did you notice the resemblance?
Yes, she dyed her hair.
Where do you get Xena wear?
There isn't a store, unfortunately. You just go in and, gee, I'd like to get some breast armor and a sword and stuff. Like some of the other stuff's a bit easier to find, the sword, but the internet's great for that.
Costume contest winner Laura Wolf offered up some tips for next year's competition.
Just make your costume as authentic as possible. Make yourself look as much as you can, you know, like
I think I'm going to have to stand on a box or something.
You'll need some really tall stills.
And then there was one fan who seemed just a bit out of place.
Do you know that this is a Hercules and Xena convention? Did you beam here accidentally or?
Not at all. I thought it was a Women Warriors convention, and as a Klingon, of course, I am a woman warrior.
Certainly the highlight of the convention was a chance for the fans to see their heroes live and in the flesh. Lucy Lawless has great rapport on stage doing Q&A with her fans.
This ring was made by a very fine New Zealand goldsmith.
And I must say, after getting a chance to meet the warrior princess myself, I can see why she's a positive role model for so many people. Yes, I think you can enroll me as an official member of the Lucy Lawless fan club. Now all I have to do is perfect that famous Xena battle cry.
Well, I've almost got it. Needs work.
Next, jetting through Disney's new Tomorrowland and a face-to-face meeting with the best internet game player in cyberspace.
2 weeks ago, we asked who you'd like to see Godzilla fight in the sequel. Here are the results of our online poll. By the way, for the Godzilla rookies out there, Mechagodzilla is Godzilla's evil robot twin. Two weeks ago, Disneyland unveiled its revamped Tomorrowland. The $100 million makeover has given Disney's World of the Future 5 new attractions and a whole new look. Soon after the ribbon was cut, I checked the place out and probed the creative mind of Tony Baxter, who oversaw the renovation. He told me his main challenge was to make the new Tomorrowland reassuring, in an age when the future is often seen as threatening.
We had to kind of reinvent the future and turn away from the dark, kind of apocalyptic futures that have been the norm now for, say, 20 years. I think Blade Runner kind of set the standard, you know, which people have been emulating now for a long time. So what you see is sort of the antithesis of that.
When Disneyland opened in the 50s, Tomorrowland echoed a confident, distinctly American vision of the future. But Disney researchers found that in the 90s, people no longer yearned for a Jetsons-style urban techno future. Tomorrowland had become Yesterland.
Well, it felt expo-like. It felt like the last great bastion of the 60s. You know, the New York World's Fair, you know, up in Montreal, I believe, and there was one over in Japan. And it had that. Every building was an expo site. Now, what we tried to do is create more like a town square.
I think the Disney planners have succeeded in creating a less alienating and more comfortable place. They've deep-sixed the cold chrome, concrete, and harsh colors and replaced them with earth tones and cobblestones. They've created a subliminal message that the future will be an eco-friendly Garden of Eden by making all the landscaping edible. Okay, let's see here. We got our tomatoes here. We got onions. We got, I don't know, I'm not good with my vegetables. But don't get the idea Tomorrowland has become a farm. The main draw is still the attractions. And the new ones include rocket rods, the water maze, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and the Astro Orbiter. But the new stuff is often rooted in the past. For instance, the Astro Orbiter is based on a sketch by Leonardo da Vinci, and they brought back a replica of the original Tomorrowland rocket ship, retired in the 60s.
The rocket to the moon behind us is probably the last great symbolic shape of pre-travel to the moon versions of going to the moon. And so we brought it back because it symbolizes dreams of going to the moon rather than the reality of going to the moon.
Baxter says that dreams of the future are the essence of Tomorrowland, and those dreams can come from the past as well as the present, but they must be fun.
I think it takes away the intimidation. It says Tomorrowland. I had fun in Tomorrowland. Therefore, when I get to be a resident of the future, I'm going to like that too.
Now, I bet when Walt Disney was making the original Tomorrowland, he never even dreamed of professional internet gaming.
No, or even the internet at all, for that matter.
Well, now we've got both. So let me introduce you to the world's first professional cyber athlete, Dennis Fong, a.k.a. Thresh.
I'm Thresh. I play computer games, more specifically 3D action games such as Quake and Doom. Thresh is my online persona. Offline, I'm just a regular person. But online, the name Thresh is feared amongst a lot of the Quake players, just because I've developed a reputation for myself to be a very proficient player. And, you know, I am undefeated in every tournament that I've entered. In total, I think I've won about $100,000 in cash and prizes. I was around 15, I think, 14 or 15 when I first started playing these games. I played them maybe 2-3 hours a night, maybe after midnight, after hanging out with friends and stuff, and I would have nothing to do. You know, a lot of people go watch TV at night. I just went to play this game, and I didn't even realize that I was any good until, you know, these tournaments started popping up and I was winning. As with all parents, you can always study more. So when I was playing these games when I was younger, they're always on my case saying, you should be studying, or, you know, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And that's really understandable. But it was not up till I won the Ferrari and I brought it home that, you know, now it's kind of like, why aren't you practicing? You know, get on it, you know, get your skills up there. When I'm playing, I'm told that I'm usually stone cold. Like I show no emotions whatsoever. So, you know, if I'm having a bad game or a good game, or I'm doing well, I had a good shot, you know, it doesn't really affect my overall demeanor. And I think that's actually an advantage over a lot of players who get nervous or get upset. I think for me, I just analyze the game a lot more than regular people, and I pick up patterns and anticipate other people's moves a lot quicker. My brother and a couple friends and I, we realized that there were no real strategy sites out there that helped the average player get to the level where a lot of the good players were. And so we decided to start a company, Gamers Extreme, and form a website, which is www.gamers.com, where, you know, we offer free strategy guides for people to read and browse over the web. I think I'm really happy with where I'm at right now. I wouldn't mind doing this for the rest of my life. You know, it's just playing games, and, you know, I can't think of anything more fun than just playing games. You know, it's kind of like asking Pete Sampras, you know, would you like to play tennis for the rest of your life?
I'm Scott Nance.
And I'm Chase Masterson.
Join us for a brand new weekly series that'll take your concept of science fiction
and turn it upside down.
Sci-Fi Entertainment, only on the Sci-Fi Channel. Next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
and I are always searching the globe
And any passing astral bodies.
to find you the best sci-fi in the cosmos. Now, I know this is going to sound a little gratuitous, but the Sci-Fi Channel has an incredible special coming up next weekend. Bioperfection, Building a New Human Race, is the third, and I think the best yet, of the Sci-Fi Channel's sighting specials.
We can expect biological and electronic components to come together in the future. That will be a new form of life.
With science fiction rapidly becoming science fact, the show explores whether we're approaching the end of humanity or simply taking the next inevitable step in human evolution. The special investigates the moral and ethical dilemmas raised by modern advances in genetics, life expansion, and artificial intelligence.
Imagine a whole body that's there and can't be hurt, and yet it still has your soul and your brain in it.
Bioperfection, Building a New Human Race, premieres on the Sci-Fi Channel next Saturday, June 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And next week, we'll have the executive producer of Sightings, the Fonz himself, Henry Winkler, right here in the studio.
Who would have thought Henry Winkler was a sci-fi fan?
No. Find out more next week. See you then.